The initial warning sign wasn't the commotion, it was the hushed tones. At 9:42 a.m. on Thanksgiving morning, my mom was already on her second glass of wine, pulling Janice into the laundry room as if it were a secret interrogation site. I was outside on the porch, prepping a cigar I had no intention of smoking. I just needed to occupy my mouth with something other than my own thoughts. Inside, the house was filled with the sense of roasting turkey and a sense of entitlement. My Uncle Mitch's old recliner creaked under the weight of his fifth plate of stuffing, and the twin kids were attempting to jam Legos into the DVD player, a Ghana typical scene of mayhem. That's when I overheard it. He's concealing something. Janice's mom's voice was a low whisper coming from the slightly open laundry room door. I found an email to an accountant on his laptop when I used it for the pie recipe. It talked about millions. He has millions. Janice. A pause followed. Janice's voice, small and whiny, then said, "So, as his sister, you're entitled to it." In that moment, I realized they had spotted the iceberg and were deliberately steering toward it. 3 years ago, I sold my company for just under $16 million, keeping $12 million after all the legal and tax fees, and after discreetly paying off an ex who once tried to trademark my last name. Since then, I've chosen to live a quiet life, not out of modesty, but to remain unnoticed. My home resembles a retired dentist's, and my car is a decade-old Toyota that smells like coffee and dog hair. You won't find me with designer accessories or on luxurious vacations. But apparently, a single stray email draft was all it took to trigger the feeding frenzy. Their initial approach wasn't confrontational, which made it worse. They put on a performance. Janice was overly friendly, and my mom suddenly offered to help with the mashed potatoes. All the while, I saw them repeatedly glancing at my phone as if it held a sacred secret. I simply waited and let them continue their charade. At dinner, Janice made her move during a phony toast about family, gratitude, and love, holding her wine glass as though she were a character on a reality TV show. She paused, looked me in the eye, and launched her attack. "So, Ben," she said with a smirk, "are you still working with those charity people?" I smiled back. "Jip, we just finished the groundwork for a new shelter last month for single moms and vets." My mom let out a cold chuckle, one that seemed to reek of gin and deceit. "That's nice," she said, "but perhaps it's time to focus on taking care of your real family." "Real family?" I asked. "Do you mean you or the Legos in the DVD player?" That's when the pretense dropped. Her fork hit the table with a clatter, signaling the start of the full-blown argument. "You know exactly what I mean, Benjamin," Mom snapped, using my full name. "You have millions stashed away while your sister struggles to pay rent in a moldy duplex with a depressed cat." Janice echoed to her like a backup singer on a revenge tour. "I'm just saying, if I had that money, I'd share. You have no kids, no expenses. You live alone in that odd little house like some kind of tech hermit." The silence was deafening. Even Mitch stopped eating. I took a slow sip of my wine, letting the moment hang in the air. "Is that what this dinner is for?" I asked eventually. "You discovered a number you didn't earn and decided I owe you a portion?" "No," my mom said sharply. "We're saying your family deserves a piece. Janice deserves a fresh start. You could transform her life." "She's had 6 fresh starts," I replied. 2 marriages, a massage candle, MLM, and a guinea pig Instagram account. I thought that would be the final blow. But then Janice stood up, pulled a thick white envelope from her purse, and slid it across the table like a mob boss making a deal. I picked up the envelope. Inside was an official request on legal paper for a family gift redistribution of $3.5 million. You're asking me for $3.5 million on Thanksgiving? I said. My mom nodded, completely serious. We thought you'd do the right thing. I just looked at them and smiled. I didn't say anything because the real check, the one that would turn their world upside down, was already in my jacket pocket, intended for someone they'd never expect. But we'll get to that later. The envelope sat on the table like an ugly centerpiece. Janice remained standing, with her arms crossed like a self-satisfied flight attendant waiting for me to buckle up and hand over the controls. Mom watched me with a strange mix of triumph and maternal disapproval, as if she expected me to burst into grateful tears for the chance to give them millions. I tapped the envelope. It was thick, expensive paper, clearly prepared by a lawyer, probably the same one who helped Janice keep her juicer in her second divorce. You really thought I'd sign this? I asked, my voice steady. Janice smirked. It's not about thinking. It's about knowing you wouldn't let your sister rot in debt while you're building houses for strangers. You're not rotting in debt, I said. You're just addicted to being rescued. And I stopped being your lifeguard after you swam out to sea with a margarita and a DUI. She didn't flinch. She just shrugged, as if my words were overly dramatic. That's when my mom went for the ultimate weapon. You know what your father would have wanted? She said, her voice shaking. He would have told you to do the Christian thing, to take care of your family before strangers. I just blinked. That was a serious misstep. You don't bring up my dad, especially not after you argued over who got his recliner at his funeral. He left me his watch, Janice interjected, as if on cue, because he knew I had a future. I was supposed to start my own business. You tried to sell homemade granola on Etsy, I interrupted. It gave people diarrhea. You're disgusting, she spat. You think being rich makes you better than us? No, I said. I think not begging at Thanksgiving makes me better. That did it. Mom slammed her wine glass down so hard it cracked. I gave birth to you, she snarled, and you've become some smug, selfish tech bro who hides his money behind a fake charity. It's not fake, I said calmly, and it's not hiding if it's on public record. You'd know that if you ever Googled anything besides how to guilt trip your son. Janice leaned in. So, you're saying no? I held her gaze, then slowly reached into my blazer. She lit up like a Christmas tree in a snowstorm. Mom gasped, her hand flying to her pearls, her eyes wide as if I were about to produce a diamond tiara instead of a folded piece of paper. But it wasn't a check, not yet. It was a letter. I slid it across the table. She snatched it up like it might disappear, mouthing the words as she read it, like a child learning to read the word betrayal. The Restorative Path Foundation will match every dollar donated this holiday season for emergency housing. Domestic escape resources. What the hell is this? She blurted out. It's a press release, I said, taking a sip of my wine. It goes out Monday. We're matching up to $5 million in donations this year. 2 strangers. Mom! Shrieked. to drug addicts and hookers and other people's children, to people who don't threaten me at the dinner table while hiding a payment request in their clutch, I said. Janice looked like she was about to explode. You're choosing them over us. No, I said. I'm choosing me. And I'm choosing not to participate in this sick replay where you'd try to rob me in the name of family. Then I stood up, calm and composed, grabbed my jacket from the chair, and turned to leave. Where the hell are you going? Mom snapped. I paused at the door, pulled a signed blank check from my other pocket, and tossed it onto the table. If you want money so badly, I said, you can apply like everyone else. Our applications are online. Just be honest, especially about your income, assets, and moral character. Then I walked out. I didn't go home right away. I parked outside a Waffle House with a view of the highway, letting the silence in my car feel like a thick smoke. Half the lights on the sign were burned out, flickering like my fading belief in holiday traditions. I scrolled through my phone, not for messages from my mom or Janice Nunn came but for the email I had scheduled for Monday. There it was. Subject line, Holiday Campaign Launch, Emergency Relief Initiative. The pre-header read, for those left behind by the people who were supposed to love them. The irony was not lost on me. By the time I got home, the voicemail light was flashing. It wasn't from my mom or Janice. It was from Linda, Janice's lawyer. Hi, Benjamin. I've been informed of a potential dispute regarding your late father's estate and some recent financial discrepancies involving shared property. If you could give me a call back before the weekend, we'd like to resolve this civilly. Civilly? That's the word they always use before the psychological manipulation started. Because here's what they didn't know and what I hadn't told anyone, the family house Janice had been renting for the past year was my property. After my dad passed away, I bought the mortgage through a quiet holding company, cleared the liens, and told her she could live there rent-free until she got back on her feet. That was 15 months ago. The only feet she found were in a failed OnlyFans account where she posted spa selfies and got banned for uploading someone else's yoga videos. The real kicker. She had started subletting the downstairs to a TikTok hair extension guru named Tyrese and pocketing the money. So they wanted to play hardball. Fine. The next day, I called my attorney, Melissa, and told her to prepare a notice of termination. Janice said 30 days to leave unless she wanted to start paying real rent. No more family discount. No more silent charity. But that wasn't even the best part. The real twist came when I went to the house to deliver the envelope myself. I wanted to look her in the eye and see her realize the free ride wasn't just over. It had never actually existed. She wasn't home, but Tyrese was shirtless, with glitter in his beard and a face tattoo of Danny DeVito making a peace sign. You must be her cousin or something, he began. Nope, I said, handing him the envelope. Just the guy who owns the roof over your DeVito head. He looked confused, flipping the envelope over. What's this? An eviction. Happy holidays, I said, turning to leave. As I walked away, he muttered, she said her rich ex-boyfriend pays for all this. I stopped cold. Excuse me. Yeah, he laughed. She said you were some guilt-ridden beta who let her live here for free to make up for dumping her. She had been telling people I was her ex. You don't burn bridges and then pretend you built them. You don't call me brother one day and your benefactor boyfriend the next. It explained her social media posts, the half-naked gratitude captions, the cryptic messages like some people still take care of their own that she'd been dropping to her MLM followers. I realized I had been funding a Fantia fake life where I was the villain in her victim narrative so she could sell discount crystals and trauma, coaching retreats using my name. I got back in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard the leather creaked. This wasn't just entitlement, it was identity theft by manipulation. And I wasn't finished. My next stop was Mom's church, because if Janice wanted to use my money to sell her made-up story, it was time for a public reading. Sunday morning felt like a hangover with organ music. I parked my unwashed Toyota between Alexis with a hustle and blessed license plate frame and a minivan covered in dried Cheerios. Mom's church was a suburban megachurch with lead sermon boards and coffee bars that sold kombucha like it was holy water. Inside, the air smelled of lavender, hand sanitizer, and moral superiority. I wasn't there for Jesus. I was there for revenge in a cardigan. My plan was simple. Slip into the back row, wait for the community testimony segment, which my mom always took over like it was her own TED Talk, and drop a bombshell when the room was completely silent. And the room was indeed silent. Mom was already in the front row, pearls on, eyes closed in a show of dramatic prayer as if she'd received a personal invitation from St. Peter. Janice sat beside her, her hair pulled into a bun so tight you could see her bad decisions on her scalp. Tyrese was there too, in a glittery blazer and joggers, acting as if it were the Met Gala for social climbers. Then the moment came. Mr. Rickman, a man built like a cinnamon bun, stepped up to the microphone and said, "If anyone in the congregation has a word to share a blessing, a struggle, or a triumph, the mic is open." And of course, Mom stood up. She stumbled on a hymnal but recovered smoothly. Brothers and sisters, she began, clutching her chest as if she had just survived a miracle. This year, our family has faced trials, yes, but also triumphs. My daughter, Janice, through nothing but perseverance and faith, is finally stepping into her purpose. She's starting a healing space for women, a trauma-informed sanctuary. She is proof that the Lord provides. Janice, as if she'd just been nominated for an Oscar. And it would not be possible, Mom continued, now looking directly at me, without the generosity of someone dear, someone who never wanted credit but gave it anyway. The entire congregation turned to look at me. I stood up slowly and walked past the pews like I was reliving a forgotten memory. Mom smiled, a tight, defiant grin. I took the microphone. "That's true," I said. "I did give something this year. I gave my sister and mother the opportunity to show who they really are." A few nervous chuckles. "I gave my sister a free house. She subletted illegally. I gave my mother trust. She spent it selling my name to strangers while sipping Riesling and pretending it was communion wine." The room gasped. Janice jumped up. "What the hell are you doing?" "Oh, I'm not done," I said. I pulled out my phone and tapped the screen. The projector behind me lit up. "Airdrop successful. A screenshot of Janice's Facebook post from the previous week appeared on the screen. The caption read, "Some people still take care of you, even if they say you're not family anymore. Manifesting $3.50 like the queen I am." The next slide was a snippet of the legal letter she'd given me, followed by the eviction notice, and then her OnlyFans teaser post. The final slide was a donation link to the Restorative Path Foundation. While Janice was manifesting fraud, I said calmly, "We housed 17 women this quarter. 2 were pregnant. They were running from people who told them love means money." Sound familiar? The room went crazy. A woman in the front row started sobbing. The pastor whispered something into his mic that wasn't broadcast. Mom sat frozen, her lips parted, her eyes glossy like a frog about to croak its last lie. Janice lunged, trying to grab the mic. I sidestepped her like a matador. "You wanted credit." I said, "You got it. Here's your legacy." I turned back to the congregation. "If you want to support healing," I said, "support the ones doing the work, not the ones posting about it." Then I dropped the mic. Literally, it hit the floor with a crack loud enough to echo in whatever corner of hell my father had warned me about when he said, "Don't ever give a snake your wallet, son. They'll bite you while they're counting." Janice screamed. Mom hyperventilated. Tyrese filmed the whole thing. Good. The truth was out, but we were still nowhere near the final reckoning because the church wasn't the only audience I had in mind. The video hit Facebook before I even got back to my car. Tyrese, for all his glitter and questionable habits, knew how to capture a viral moment. He filmed it vertically, of course, but got everything. My speech, Janice lunging like a manic influencer, the congregation gasping like someone had farted in the baptismal font. And he even zoomed in on Mom's face when the OnlyFans slide hit the screen. It was perfect. By Monday morning, it had over 40,000 views. A local podcast reposted it with the title, "Thanksgiving Mic Drop, Ohio Man Exposes Family's Greed at Church." I didn't even know I had fans in Sweden until a guy DM'd me saying, "Bro, you are the GOAT." My mom's the same. Respect from Mount. But what really kicked things into high gear was the surge in donations. By noon, our charity's website had crashed twice from the traffic. By 5 p.m., we had raised $280,000 in new contributions. Half of them were tagged with messages like "Screw Janice" and "For the pregnant women, not the parasites." And then the ultimate victory, the local news called. They wanted to interview me, not just about the viral clip, but about the Restorative Path Foundation, about how a quiet guy with a weird little house built one of the fastest growing independent housing initiatives in the Midwest. I said yes, wore a suit, got a haircut, and didn't mention Janice by name. I just said, sometimes the people closest to you teach you the hardest lessons. The piece aired on Thursday night. By Friday, Janice's Healing Space website was gone, a dead link. Her social media accounts were wiped. Her OnlyFans was deleted. Even her Venmo bio changed from manifesting sparkles to just a crying face. But I wasn't finished. While she was busy hiding, Mom was plotting damage control. She called late Friday, and I immediately recognized the passive-aggressive ringtone I'd assigned to her when I was 12. "I think we need to talk," she said, her voice soft and syrupy, as if she'd just taken a Xanax bath in honey. This has all gotten out of hand, has it? I asked. Or did it just finally get documented? She sighed. Benjamin, I don't think you understand how humiliating this has been. Church won't even let me lead the prayer circle this week. I think Jesus will survive, I said. We're family. She tried. Blood. That has to count for something. Blood is what vampires drink, I said. Doesn't make them good people. Then she played her trump card. I spoke to your Uncle Frank. He's disappointed. He says you've always been a little cold. Oh, I said. You mean Uncle Frank, the serial cheater who got banned from Dave and Buster's for slapping a teenager. She went quiet, so I dropped the final bomb. I'm giving a second interview next week, I said. National network this time. We're doing a whole segment on how families weaponize guilt to steal from their own. If you want me to leave names out, I suggest you stop dialing mine. You wouldn't, she said. I would, and I'll do it in HD. Click. There were no more calls after that, but the real storm hit Monday morning. A woman named Angela emailed the foundation. She said she had lived with Janice for 3 months after escaping a bad marriage. She claimed Janice had kicked her out after Angela couldn't afford her emotional detox sessions. Angela sent screenshots. One showed Janice demanding $300 for a chakra realignment after Angela refused to join her essential oils downline. Another showed Janice using my name, saying I had approved of her spiritual coaching business and was going to fund the whole project. And there it was. Fraud. On record. Documented. I forwarded everything to Melissa, my lawyer. Her response was 3 words. Let's go nuclear. And, oh, honey. The next part was scorched earth. Melissa wasted no time. By noon, she had filed a cease and desist order so sharp it could have sliced through Janice's chakra crystals. This wasn't just about defamation anymore. It was about unauthorized use of my name, fraudulent fundraising, and misrepresenting a registered 501c3 for personal gain. But Melissa, with her venom-laced professionalism, didn't stop there. She sent physical copies of the cease and desist to Janice's business address, the house she was now being evicted from, and just for a little extra spice to Mom's condo addressed to her HOA president. When Mom stepped outside to brag about her family's nonprofit empire, she found a thick manila envelope with her maiden name and the words immediate legal notice stamped in red on the front. I like to imagine she opened it with shaking hands and a wine spritzer in the other. Within 24 hours, the damage control began. First, Janice posted a public apology on Facebook. It was one of those non-apologies written in Comic Sans with a photo of her holding a Bible like it was a Gucci clutch. To all who were hurt, misled, or confused by my journey, it read, I'm sorry if my healing work was misunderstood. I never intended to use my brother's name for personal gain. I love my family deeply, even when they weaponize the media. Lady, you weaponized your own delusion and handed me the ammunition. Her followers weren't buying it. One commented, Girl, you posted that donation link on your OnlyFans. Another said, Healing doesn't involve illegal subletting. Janice. The clapbacks were biblical, but the best part was that the local news station reached out again. Apparently, Janice had tried to give her side of the story, crying about being misunderstood, cancel culture, and male privilege. She even claimed I'd been controlling since childhood and made her feel small. So they offered me a rebuttal slot. I said yes, and this time I brought receipt. I handed over a flash drive with everything: the Facebook posts, the eviction paperwork, the cease and desist, the OnlyFans screenshots, and wait for Ida video testimonial from Angela. Yeah. The single mom Janice had kicked out for refusing to buy her Reiki candles had reached out again, this time with a full video statement, face to camera. She laid it all out. Janice said Ben was funding her, that she was his business partner. I gave her my last $50 for a trauma clearing session, and all she did was rub sage over my head while talking about how my poor aura was blocking her abundance. I slept in my car that night. When the station aired the new piece, it was devastating. They didn't just roast Janice. They slow roasted her over a fire made of bad karma and expired MLM oils. They closed the segment with a direct quote from me. Some people see charity as a loophole. I see it as a weapon, not to hurt, but to expose who's never lifted a hand unless it was to take. After that, the dominoes fell. Her PayPal got frozen. Zelle shut her down. Venmo sent her a notice about compliance violations. Even GoFundMe refunded donors from her failed wellness barn project. But it gets better. While Janice was watching her fake empire crumble from the inside of a TJ Maxx clearance aisle, something arrived in her mailbox. A letter from the Restorative Path Foundation. Not from me, but from our new director of outreach, Angela. That's right. I hired her. Full-time benefits, salary, and a sense of purpose. The letter was a formal invitation to attend our next community open house. The title of the event, What Real Healing Looks Like. Her name was on the guest list under volunteer. Waitlist. She never RSVP'd. But don't worry. We saved her a seat next to the projector and under the full spotlight, because redemption isn't something you steal with fake tears and yoga quotes. You earn it one exposed fraud at a time. And trust me, I wasn't quite done exposing her yet. The last time Janice tried to call me, she left a voicemail that sounded like a spoken word breakdown on a discount tarot live stream. Her voice was cracked and warbled with static and desperation. You've ruined my life, Ben. You've taken everything. I can't walk into Trader Joe's without someone whispering. A woman in the self-checkout line called me the chakra scammer. Do you even care? Did I care? Let's just say I replayed that message with a bourbon in hand and the DeVito Head TikTok Eyes remix of it playing on a loop in the background. Yes. Had turned her voicemail into a viral audio trend. Hashtag can quotes T. Heal my aura. If you wreck my Subaru, Raw was trending in 3 states and 1 meditations. But her humiliation was just a symptom. The root of the problem was still there, because the lie she built was extensive, deeply embedded, and registered. Melissa called me that Monday with a tone I hadn't heard before, not legal rage, but something colder. Ben, she said, we found it. The paper trail. Turns out Janice had filed a DBA, doing business as under the name Restorative Path Wellness Institute. It was close enough to our Restorative Path Foundation that donors, grant writers, and even a school board thought she was affiliated with us. She had already applied for 3 micro grants, submitted a bid for a city-led wellness expo, and had booked a speaking gig using our branding. All of this happened after she found out about the money. She hadn't just tried to cash in. She had tried to become me. So I greenlit the nuclear option. Melissa drafted a federal complaint for trademark infringement, wire fraud, and misrepresentation of a tax-exempt entity. Then I made the call, not to Janice, but to the school district where she'd applied to be a youth resilience coach. I emailed them a full PDF packet, her fake branding, screenshots of the donation scam, her OnlyFans link with the caption Divine Feminine with a dash of felony, and the full Sasandazist letter from months back. Within 24 hours, they emailed back, "Thank you for your diligence. Ms. Janice L. has been removed from the finalist pool and blacklisted from future consideration." I didn't post anything about it publicly, but Tyrese did because Janice had told him she got the job. He had even filmed her doing her hair in the bathroom mirror, manifesting that school contract, babe. When the video came out and she had to comment, "It didn't align with my spirit path," the comment section rioted. And while she was getting roasted in comment threads, Melissa dropped the last hammer. We filed a formal fraud report with the state attorney general's office. Janice was now under investigation for charitable misrepresentation. I wasn't gloating. I was clearing the infestation. Because here's what no one understood about me, not Janice. Not even the ones who praised me on camera. I'm not nice. I'm quiet. There's a difference. And when quiet people are pushed past the edge, we don't scream. We document. We calculate. And then we detonate. Janice wanted a piece of my success. She got one. It just came with a court date, a subpoena, and a letter from the IRS asking if chakra energy refunds counted as taxable income. Spoiler, they do. But even after all that, there was one final scene left, one last invitation, and a very public curtain call. It ended fittingly in a ballroom decorated with cheap elegance and false intentions. We were hosting the Restorative Path Foundation's Winter Gala, a black tie event at a downtown hotel to raise money, spotlight survivors, and honor the people who had turned their personal hell into shelter for others. I stood at the back of the room, my tuxedo sharp, my bourbon neat, watching Angela greet guests with the composure of someone who no longer slept in her car. Tyrese, yes, Glitterface Redemption Arc himself, was filming B-roll for the Foundation's new YouTube channel. He was clean, sober, and had turned that viral remix into a real song called Boundaries Over Blood. About 200 people filled the space. Donors, press, volunteers, the people we helped, and the people who helped them. But at table 9 was the wild card, Janice. Yes, I invited her. Not out of pity, but out of strategy. When the fraud charges started sticking and her bank accounts were frozen, she reached out through a third party. "I just want to apologize. Maybe make amends. Maybe speak at one of your events." I said, "Sure." Because if she wanted to be seen, I would give her a stage. I saved her a seat, printed her name in gold ink, and placed a copy of the evening's program in front of her plate. Highlighted in yellow was the 8:15 p.m. speech slot, a personal testimony of accountability. She thought it was hers, but when the lights dimmed and the MC took the stage, a different name was called, Angela. Janice blinked, confused, and looked around. Angela stepped up to the mic. Dressed in a navy blue pantsuit that radiated competence, she paused to breathe in the weight of the moment. 2 years ago, she began. I was homeless, betrayed, and blamed for my own suffering. I gave my last dollars to a woman who claimed she could clear my trauma if I just believed in her abundance model. Janice froze. Her eyes locked on the stage. I found healing, Angela continued. Not from a chakra bath or a pyramid scheme, but from a foundation run by someone who didn't ask me to pay for my worth. Someone who said, "You deserve help. No receipt required." Applause began. Janice stood up, walking toward the back. I stepped into her path. Leaving already, I asked, "We haven't even served dessert." "You set me up," she hissed. "No," I said. "You set yourself up. I just brought the receipts." She tried to push past me, but I didn't move. "You asked to speak tonight," I said. "So I gave you a voice. It just came from someone you tried to erase." Her lip quivered. "You really think this makes you the good guy?" "I don't care," I said. "I'm not the good guy. I'm the one who learned the cost of silence. And tonight, I paid in full." She left without looking back. Tyrese caught it on film. He didn't post it. He didn't need to. The next day, the gala broke our donation record, raising over $900,000. Angela was offered a board seat. The foundation was invited to partner with 3 new shelters. And Janice filed for bankruptcy 2 weeks later. Mom moved to Florida shortly after that, saying something about fresh starts and real family. She sent me a birthday card with no return address and a $5 Starbucks gift card inside. I donated it to the shelter staff break room. I still live in the same house, still drive the same dog-hair-scented Toyota, but now there's a framed quote by the door next to my father's watch. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who doesn't ask for it. And every time someone knocks, asking for help, not a handout, I open that door wide because I know the difference now between a taker in pearls and a survivor in work boots.